Hi everyone, my name is Stefania and I'm Keela's customer care team lead. I am very excited to walk you over Keela's newest release, Grant Management. I know we've all been waiting for this. The first question that you might be wondering is where do I go ahead and access grants in Keela? So that's a good question. We're going to go over into fundraising. And you're going to see in here that we have a new tab under fundraising called grants. And if you click on it here, you can see all of the grants that you have on your account. If you have no grants available yet on your account, you're going to get a purple button in the middle in here where you can go ahead and add a grant, or you can go ahead and add a new grant from here to the right. We're going to give you in here the search bar. This is where you can go ahead and search for the name of the contact so you can get their grant. So for example, Rachel, and I can see Rachel's grant over there. You can also go ahead and filter down your grant list. You can see in here we've added some grants filters in there. You can also go ahead and alter the columns that you see in there. So you can see that we have the four ones, these are the ones that are going to be always shown there, but you can go ahead and add additionals in there. So for example, amount outstanding, amount received, and you can see in there those columns. And then the next one would be in here to add a grant. So we're going to go ahead and click here add grant, and this is where we're going to be pulling in all of the information for the grant. The first thing that we're going to pop in here would be our grantor. So I'm just going to go ahead and add myself. You can give the grant a name. So I'm going to give it a grant release as the grant name. You can select the grant type. So we've added in here some types like project, operating, capacity building, research, capital, matching, and other. So you can decide which one matches the grant that you're adding to Keela. So I'm going to do research for this one. You can go ahead and add the grant amount. So in this case, I'm going to do $2,500. You can go ahead and add the start date. So I can go ahead and add the start date. Let's say that this was started September 1st. I'm going to select it in here and let's add the end date to the end of this year, December 31st. You can also go ahead and add an application stage. So draft means that you're still working on it. Pending might be that you're still waiting to hear back. Approve that your grant has been approved, and then decline that your grant has been declined. You can also go ahead and add in a submission date. So when is the grant due? So we can say that it's due at the end of this month. So let's do that. And then when is the application deadline? So we can do the same date for that. You can also go ahead and add an assignee, so the person responsible for keeping track of this grant. So I'm going to go ahead and add my colleague Trey in there. You can also go ahead and add the URL for the grant, so where you can go ahead and get the application. So you can go ahead and add that. You can also go ahead and add any requirements. So you can add in text in here of things that your team needs to get for the grant. You can also upload any files, attachments to the grant. So it can be any PDFs or any documents that you're getting from the grant. And then in here, you can go ahead and add installments. So for example, I'm anticipating that, let's say on November 15th, we're going to get $1,000 for the grant. So that knows that on November 15th, we're anticipating that amount. You can also go ahead and add more installments. We can do towards the end of November, let's say the 30th, we're going to get the other remaining 1,500. So let's go ahead and click next. Okay, let's just fix this date in there. Perfect. Next. So this year, this is where you're going to go ahead and add in any association. So do you want to associate your grant with a campaign, an impact area, soft credit, source, or a keyword? Or you can also add in any notes. So in my case, I'm going to do a donation campaign. You can also add an impact area, and we're going to go ahead and click save. So when you open the grant on your Keela account, this is what you're going to see in there. So for example, you can see to the left, you're going to see the contact information, and then to the right, you're going to see all of the information for the grant. So you're going to get the grant amount, the amount that has been received, and the outstanding amount. You're also going to get a status. So Keela is going to automatically give a status to all of your grants. So it's going to be either active, overdue, fully paid, completed, or canceled. So in order to get an active status, it means that the end date has not been selected and no funds have been received. The end date has not been selected and the grant amount has been partially received. The end date has not passed and nothing has been granted yet. Or the end date has not passed and the grant amount has been partially paid. So those are the conditions for a grant to be active. The next one will be overdue. So the overdue one would be that the end date has been passed and no funds have been received, or that the end date has passed and the grant amount has been partially received. The next status would be fully paid. So fully paid would mean the end date has not passed and the full grant amount has been received. The next date is status would be completed. So completed would mean that the end date was not selected and the full grant amount has been received. And then the other one would be end date has passed and the full grant amount has been received. And then the last status would be canceled. And this means that the grant has been manually canceled by a user on the Keela account. So those would be the different statuses in there. You can also see the grant name, the grant type, the start date, the end date, what's the application stage, the application submission state, who the assignee is, and all of that information that we added when we're creating it. If we continue to scroll down, we can go ahead and add transactions in here. And if you click in here, add transaction, you can know that it's going to be a revenue categorized as a grant. And you can go ahead and add the amount in there. So we can do $1,000. It's always going to be associated with the same associations of your grant. You can go ahead and do the receipting in there and you can select the payment method and you can click save. This is going to take you to the transaction in Keela, but if we go ahead and click back, you can see in here that we've now received $1,000 and the outstanding amount has changed to $1,500. And in cases like this in the bottom, so those are the transactions that have been received. And then you can also see the installments that you are anticipating to receive for the grant. The last place where you can go ahead and look at grants is if you go into contacts and you go into specific contacts. So I'm going to go ahead back into my contact in here. And if I go into the fundraising tab, you can see that now we've added grants in here and you can see all of the grants that are associated with that specific contact.